بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Here I will mention texts from the Qur'an and authentic Sunnah directly indicating the Zahiri Madhab. The first is the hadith in which Umar interrupted the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam prayed for Abdullah ibn Ubay, the kafir, and Umar said that Allah had prohibited the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam from praying upon the kuffar. But then the Prophet ﷺ said that Allah only gave him a choice, which is in the same verse as Allah said in that verse with the meaning, ask forgiveness for them or do not ask forgiveness for them if you seek forgiveness for them 70 times in verse 80 of At-Tawbah. Then the Prophet ﷺ said, and I will increase beyond 70. Allahu Akbar. So the Prophet ﷺ took the Zahir words as Zahir as it can get about the choice in the exact same manner it is mentioned in the verse, and took the previous asl of permission of seeking forgiveness for the kuffar until he was prohibited from that altogether, which is our exact method and only in our method. This invalidates the method of qiyas, ta'lil, and moving away from the Zahir and obliges taking from the Zahir. The second is the hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ rejected that Abu Sa'id ibn al-Mu'alla did not respond to the Prophet ﷺ when he ﷺ called Abu Sa'id while Abu Sa'id was praying. There is in this our exact method of making specifications, takhsis, for the lesser meaning if two texts contradict, which is in this case the obligation of praying, and the other obligation is answering a call from the Prophet ﷺ, which is lesser in meaning and more specific. The third is the hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ spoke about treasure and zakah on camels, cattle and horses. Then the Prophet ﷺ was asked about donkeys, and he replied, nothing has been revealed to me regarding donkeys except this general verse only. Then he recited verses 7 and 8 of al-Zalzala. There is in this hadith the obligation of taking orders from their generality, umum, and using that for everything that it encompasses and invalidates every single other method, among them which is qiyas, because the Prophet ﷺ did not use it or teach it when it was an issue in this narration in which nothing was revealed upon him as he said, and qiyas is only used on issues on which nothing is revealed, nor did he attempt to connect it with what already resembles it from the existing rulings, while horses and donkeys resemble each other. The fourth is the hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ prohibited wearing silk for men, but then the Prophet ﷺ gave Umar silk clothes. So Umar said, you sent it to me while you had said yesterday about silk of utarid what you had said, meaning that he had then prohibited it. So the Prophet ﷺ said, I have not sent it to you so that you can wear it, I only sent it to you so that you can derive benefit out of it. And that is in this our exact method of taking from the Zahir, not transgressing the exact words as they came. In this narration is the falsehood of qiyas, because Umar wanted to move the ruling mentioned regarding wearing it to other ways of benefiting from it. Then the Prophet ﷺ told him that this is false. There's also in this that the ruling of the Prophet ﷺ on something applies to everything under the category of the thing, because he ﷺ only applied his words for silk clothes, which utarid sold. Then he explained that that ruling applies to all silk clothes and clarified that that ruling does not transgress to any types other than clothing. So this is nas indicating our method of taking the general rulings and invalidating all qiyas. The fifth is the verse in which Allah ordered us not to say to the Prophet ﷺ ra'ina, but ordered us instead to say unzurna in verse 104 of Al-Baqarah. This verse invalidates qiyas and ilal entirely and indicates our exact method, because they were prohibited from saying ra'ina and ordered to say unzurna. Both meanings of the words are the same, so this invalidates qiyas then entirely and obliges taking from the Zahir as it came. The corrupt method of those who oppose is that the purpose of an order must be sought so that everything close to that takes the same ruling, which is going against the Zahir. Allah ordered them with a word of the same meaning, so their method is then invalid, and ours is then valid, which is taken from the Zahir as it came without transgressing. The sixth is the verse in which Allah ordered us not to say about those who are killed in the way of Allah that they are dead. This is in verse 154 of Al-Baqarah. From what is perceived, those that are killed in the way of Allah are similar to others that die in every single aspect. So those who believed that those who were killed in the way of Allah only believed it based on their qiyas of this to the one that is not killed in the way of Allah, because of an illah that encompasses these two, it gathers them because they're similar. So there's no qiyas that is more clear than this, and no qiyas more accurate in illah than this. And while that was the case, Allah declared it false and made a clear difference between the one killed in the way of Allah and the one not killed in the way of Allah. Allah described those who killed in the way of Allah as alive with their Lord, and that they have provision, and prohibited calling them dead. So this invalidates qiyas and ilal entirely. The seventh is the narration in which the Prophet ﷺ ordered a people not to touch a water, but they still did it, and then he cursed them. There's in this that the default is that orders are obligations, because this is a matter in this narration that did not happen before. It was a new order, and then an opposition occurred, and then he cursed them. So the default is that orders are obligations. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam.